I was 68 years old when I met Marcus Wellington at my bank. He had perfect silver hair, wore expensive suits, and called me ma'am in a way that made me feel respected, not old. He was the senior financial advisor, and he seemed genuinely concerned about my future. Subscribe now because this story shows how even the smartest women can be fooled and how I fought back. My name is Eleanor Bradford, and I'd been widowed for 3 years when this happened. My husband Richard had left me comfortable, not wealthy, but secure. A paid-off house in Scottsdale, Arizona, about $380,000 in savings and investments, and my monthly pension from my teaching career. I taught high school English for 35 years. I was nobody's fool, or so I thought. It started innocently enough. I'd gone to the bank to discuss moving some CDs that were maturing. The regular branch manager introduced me to Marcus. Mrs. Bradford, this is our senior investment advisor. Given the size of your portfolio, I think you'd benefit from his expertise. Marcus shook my hand warmly, his grip firm but gentle. Mrs. Bradford, it's a pleasure. I've been reviewing your accounts and I have some concerns I'd like to discuss with you. Do you have time for a consultation? I should have been suspicious right then. Why was a senior advisor reviewing my accounts without me asking? But I was flattered. Important people were concerned about my money. That meant I was important too. We sat in his private office. Dark wood leather chairs, certificates on the wall, everything looked legitimate. Mrs. Bradford, may I call you Eleanor? Of course. Eleanor, you're in good shape financially, but I'm worried about inflation and market volatility. With interest rates where they are, your savings are actually losing value. I'd like to show you some strategies that could help you preserve and grow your wealth. For the next hour, he showed me charts and graphs. He used terms like tax-advantaged instruments and protected growth accounts. He made it sound so simple: move my money into these special accounts, and I'd be protected from market crashes while still earning good returns. The best part, he said, leaning forward confidentially, is that these accounts are only available to select clients. The bank doesn't advertise them because they're too good. We reserve them for our most valued customers. I felt special, chosen. He made me feel like he was letting me in on a secret. I'd need to think about it, I said. Of course, he smiled. But Eleanor, I have to be honest with you. These accounts have limited availability. I can hold a spot for you for 48 hours, but after that, I'll have to offer it to the next qualified client. The pressure. So subtle I barely noticed it. I went home and tried to research what he'd told me, but the terms he used didn't show up in my Google searches. When I called the bank's main customer service line to ask about these protected growth accounts, they'd never heard of them. That's because they're handled by the private wealth management division, Marcus explained when I called him back. Regular customer service wouldn't know about them. That's why you work directly with me. It made sense. Or at least I wanted it to make sense. If you're already worried about where this is going, hit that subscribe button because it gets so much worse before it gets better. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus became my trusted advisor. He called every few days to check on me, ask how I was doing, chat about the weather and my grandchildren. He never pushed, but he always came back to the investment opportunity. I'm holding that spot for you, Eleanor. But I have to tell you, my manager is asking why I haven't filled it yet. These are in high demand. Finally, I agreed. Marcus brought the papers to my house, another red flag I missed. I know it's hard for you to get to the bank with your hip, he said. Such consideration, such kindness. The papers were thick, full of legal language I didn't understand. It's just standard disclosure language, Marcus assured me. Nothing to worry about. Basically, it says you're moving funds from your current accounts into the protected growth portfolio. How much am I moving? I recommend $150,000 to start. That gives you real growth potential while keeping plenty in your other accounts for liquidity. $150,000, nearly half my savings. But the charts showed I could earn 12–15% annually with no risk. My CDs were earning less than 3%. I signed. That was a Monday. By Friday, I got a statement showing the transfer had gone through. The money was now in something called Bradford Protected Growth Trust account. It looked official. Professional. Marcus called to congratulate me. You made a smart decision, Eleanor. Now, I've been thinking about your remaining funds. Your checking account is earning nothing. Let me show you a high-yield option. Over the next month, Marcus convinced me to move another $100,000. Then he suggested I put my house into a trust for estate planning purposes. Then he wanted me to consolidate my pension direct deposits into the new accounts for better tracking. Each time, the pressure was subtle. Each time, he had a reason that made sense. Each time, I trusted him a little more. My daughter Jennifer started asking questions. Mom, what's going on with your accounts? You mentioned this Marcus person 3 times last week. He's just helping me manage things better. You don't need to worry. Can I meet him? I'd like to understand what he's recommending. Jennifer, I'm not senile. I can handle my own finances. That hurt her, and it was meant to. Marcus had coached me on this. Sometimes adult children get controlling, he'd said. They mean well, but they forget their parents are capable adults. Don't let anyone make you feel incompetent. So I pushed Jennifer away, defended Marcus, kept him my little secret. 3 months in, I'd moved nearly all my liquid assets, $320,000, into these protected accounts. I hadn't seen any returns yet, but Marcus said that was normal. The growth compounds quarterly. You'll see your first distribution in 90 days. Then he started talking about the house. Eleanor, I hate to bring this up, but I'm concerned. Your home equity is just sitting there. In this market, if you did a reverse mortgage, you could access that equity while still living in your home. Tax-free money you could invest for even better returns. I don't want a reverse mortgage. Richard and I paid off this house. I understand the emotional attachment, but think practically. You could access $200,000 or more, invest it in the protected accounts, earn 15%, and have enough to pay off the reverse mortgage if you ever wanted to, plus keep the gains. It's literally free money. I said I'd think about it. That night, something woke me at 3 a.m. I couldn't shake a feeling of unease. I went to Richard's study. I'd kept it exactly as he left it and sat at his desk. Richard had been an accountant, a careful, methodical man who'd handled all our finances for 40 years. What would he think of all this? I started going through the paperwork Marcus had given me. Really reading it this time, not just skimming, and I found things that made my blood run cold. The Bradford Protected Growth Trust account wasn't at my bank. It was at something called Wellington Financial Services, LLC. The address was a P.O. box in Delaware. The fine print said I couldn't withdraw funds for 5 years without a 25% penalty. The returns weren't guaranteed, they were projected and illustrative, and buried in the legal language. Wellington Financial Services is a private investment firm and is not FDIC insured. Subscribe right now if you want to know how this grandmother fought back, because what I did next surprised everyone. My hands shook as I kept reading. This wasn't my bank. This had nothing to do with my bank. Marcus had been using his position there to find vulnerable targets, then funneling their money into his own company. I was being scammed by a man I'd trusted, a man I'd defended to my own daughter. I felt sick, ashamed, stupid. How could I have fallen for this? But then I remembered something Richard used to say. When you realize you've made a mistake, you have two choices: feel sorry for yourself or fix it. I chose fix it. At 4 a.m., I started documenting everything. I printed every email Marcus had sent. I found all the paperwork. I wrote down every conversation I could remember with dates and times. Then I called Jennifer. Mom, are you okay? It's 4:30 in the morning. I need your help. I've made a terrible mistake. She was at my house within an hour. When I showed her everything, she didn't say, I told you so. She just hugged me and said, we're going to fix this. At 9 a.m., we were at my bank. Not Marcus's office, the branch manager's office. I need to speak with you about Marcus Wellington, I said. The manager looked confused. I'm sorry, who? Marcus Wellington, your senior financial advisor. The one you introduced me to 3 months ago. His face went pale. Mrs. Bradford, I didn't introduce you to anyone 3 months ago. I've been on medical leave. I just came back last week. The room tilted. But you were there in your office. You introduced us. That wasn't me, and we don't have anyone named Marcus Wellington working here. Jennifer gripped my hand. The manager was already on his phone. I'm calling security. And the police. The investigation moved quickly once it started. Marcus Wellington wasn't his real name. It was Marcus Webb. He'd been doing this for years, moving from city to city, bank to bank. He'd pose as a financial advisor, target wealthy elderly clients, use the bank's conference rooms and offices during business hours when the real employees were busy. The charming personality, the expensive suits, the professional demeanor, all calculated to win trust. The fake pressure about limited availability, designed to prevent targets from thinking too carefully or asking too many questions. The isolation from family, standard manipulation to cut off people who might spot the scam, and I wasn't his only victim. There were 11 others just in Arizona. He'd taken over $4 million total. But here's where my story gets different. Most of his victims had waited months before realizing something was wrong. By then, the money was long gone, moved through offshore accounts, impossible to trace, but I'd figured it out quickly. Only 3 months, and because I documented everything, because I reported it immediately, the FBI was able to freeze accounts before the money disappeared completely. I got back $280,000 of my $320,000. The other $40,000 was gone, but I was luckier than most. Marcus, or whatever his real name was arrested trying to board a flight to Costa Rica. They found detailed files on all his victims, notes about our vulnerabilities, our family situations, what language worked best on each of us. I was listed as lonely widow, eager to please, distrustful of daughter. That hurt almost as much as losing the money. The trial was hard. I had to testify about how easily I'd been fooled, how I'd ignored warning signs, how I'd pushed away my daughter's concerns. But the prosecutor told me something I needed to hear. You're not stupid, Mrs. Bradford, you're human. These people are professionals at manipulation, but you're also the reason we caught him. Your quick action and documentation saved millions for other victims. Marcus got 15 years in federal prison. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The recovery was harder than I expected. Not just financially, that was difficult but manageable. The emotional recovery was worse. I'd lost trust in myself, in my judgment. Every time the phone rang, every time someone was kind to me, I wondered if it was real or another manipulation. Jennifer was patient. She helped me set up safeguards. We added her as a secondary signer on my accounts with instructions that any transfer over $5,000 required both signatures. We set up alerts for any unusual activity. We created a system where I ran any financial decision past her first. I'm not trying to control you, Mom, she said. I'm just trying to be your backup brain. Even the smartest people can miss things, especially when emotions are involved. That was the key word, emotions. Marcus had played on my loneliness, my desire to feel important, my fear of being seen as incompetent. He'd weaponized normal human feelings. I joined a support group for financial fraud victims. That helped more than anything. Hearing others' stories, people smarter than me, wealthier than me, more suspicious than me, all falling for similar scams. It wasn't about intelligence. It was about skilled predators finding vulnerable prey. And I decided to do what I'd done my whole teaching career, educate. I started speaking at senior centers, at banks, at community groups. I told my story, the embarrassing parts, the shameful parts, the parts that made me look foolish. Because if my humiliation could save someone else, it was worth it. I taught people the warning signs I'd missed. Advisors who contact you first, without you seeking them out, opportunities that are limited or exclusive, pressure to act quickly, investments that can't be easily explained or verified, anyone who discourages you from talking to family or other advisors, promises of unusually high returns, with no risk being made to feel special, or chosen isolation tactics that separate you from people who might question things. I explained how these scammers work. They're charming, professional, patient. They build trust slowly. They make you feel smart, not stupid. They mirror your values and concerns. They're good at what they do because they do it professionally. And I taught people what Richard had taught me. When making financial decisions, sleep on it, talk to family, get second opinions. If something feels off, it probably is. And no legitimate investment opportunity will disappear if you take time to verify it. If this story is helping you understand financial predators, please subscribe and share. These lessons could save someone you love. 6 months after the arrest, something unexpected happened. I was at home when the doorbell rang. A man stood there, about 60, distinguished looking. Mrs. Bradford, my name is Thomas Chen. I was one of Marcus Webb's victims. I wanted to thank you. Thank me. Your quick action stopped him before he could disappear with everything. I got back 85% of what I lost because of you. You saved my retirement. He wasn't the only one. Over the next year, I heard from 8 of Marcus's other victims. Some got their money back, some didn't. But all of them thanked me for being brave enough to report it, to testify, to help catch him. That helped heal something in me. I'd started this story as a victim, but I'd become something else, a survivor who fought back. My relationship with Jennifer deepened. We have coffee every Tuesday now, go through any mail that seems financial, discuss any calls I get from banks or investment companies. She's not controlling me, she's protecting me. And I let her because I learned that accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. I never did get to use Richard's study after that 3 a.m. wake-up call. I started spending time there again, going through his old files, finding his notes and reminders to himself. And I found something he'd written probably 20 years ago in his day planner: trust but verify. Verify, then verify again. And when someone tries to rush you, walk away. My Richard, still teaching me lessons from beyond the grave. Still protecting me. I'm 71 now. I still live in the house Richard and I bought 40 years ago. My savings are rebuilt, not fully, but enough. I'm more careful now, maybe too careful. But I'd rather be overly cautious than foolishly trusting. Most importantly, I found my voice. I speak at 6 different organizations regularly. I've helped train bank employees to spot financial elder abuse. I've worked with the FBI on educational materials. I've talked to hundreds of seniors about financial safety. And I've helped catch 2 more scammers by recognizing their tactics and reporting them immediately. Marcus Webb destroyed my sense of security, but he gave me something too: purpose. Every person I educate, every scam I help expose, every senior I help protect, that's my revenge. That's my recovery. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you, if it taught you something, if it might help someone you love, please subscribe and share. Leave a comment below telling me where you're watching from and whether this opened your eyes to anything. I want you to know this: if you've been scammed, if you've fallen for a con, if you've trusted someone who betrayed that trust, you're not stupid. You're not weak, you're human. These predators are professionals. They study psychology. They practice their tactics. They know exactly what buttons to push, but you can fight back, you can report them, you can warn others, you can refuse to be silenced by shame. I'm Eleanor Bradford, former victim, current survivor, permanent advocate. And I'm here to tell you that even when they fool you, even when they take your money, even when they make you doubt yourself, they haven't won. Because you're still here, you're still fighting, and your story might save the next person. God bless you all. Stay safe, stay suspicious, and stay connected to people who love you. Don't let anyone isolate you. Don't let anyone rush you. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it definitely is. Resources that can help: FBI Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3.gov, AARP Fraud Watch Network, 877908336, National Elder Fraud Hotline, 8333728331. Your local adult protective services, your bank's fraud department. Until next time, take care of each other out there.